Hey everybody, you asked me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. Coming to you by candlelight, just so it's a little creepier. Not really, but you know. I'm gonna rank all the Halloween haunt attractions, all 19 of them, all non-haunted mazes, all 7 scare zones, all 3 shows. I'm gonna make a list of everything. And I'm gonna tell you why I do it and why I don't like each one. So, agree with me or not, you can put that in the comments. Let's get started. For number 19, I have Rivertown Reaping. It's a scare zone over there in the Rivertown area, obviously, based on the name. And I just did not get a whole lot from this scare zone at all. I went through it a couple different times a day. It has some interesting decorations. There's a giant spider at one point. There's a garden bed or a flower bed or whatever has body parts strewn about that's interesting. And it has actually one of my favorite signs leading into the scare zone. What I don't like and why this is at the bottom of my list is because, like I said, I went through a couple times and I didn't see a single scare actor the entire time I went through. There was no interaction, it was dark, you could barely see anything, and there was nothing going on, just pretty much for lack of engagement. And it just wasn't enough to warrant any higher than the bottom of the list. Number 18 is another scare zone. Over in the Coney Mall area, they have Zombie Mall. Now, I ranked Zombie Mall ahead of Rivertown Reaping because of some of the engagement I got from a couple scare actors. There's not really any decoration going on in Zombie Mall. There's a sign that says you're in Zombie Mall, and there's a couple like beat up old cars at the beginning and end of the small scare zone, but that's about it. I didn't see anything else that made me think zombies, made me think anything other than I'm still in just the Coney Mall area of Kings Island. Like I said, I did see a couple scare actors in this one. One I actually interacted with my camera when I was taping. It gave me a good laugh, and I enjoyed that. I like when the actors interact and are very engaged with the guests. So that's why it got a little higher than Rivertown Reaping. But again, not a whole lot going on. It just wasn't all that entertaining. Number 17 on my list is going to be my least favorite haunted maze of the night, which is Blackout. I didn't like Blackout because, as the name implies, it is literally just a black room. It's a black maze. You can't see anything. You're holding a rope with I think up to 4 people. I was on a rope with 3 other people that happened to be kind enough to let me share the rope with them. And you're supposed to feel your way along this maze. But there are no lights. It's easy to get lost. And I guess the scare is supposed to be from the weird textures they got on the wall, but you can feel it just like a fake grass carpet and just some textured walls. And it's really nothing to be that scared about. Now, I was at the back of the rope, and so I was pretty much just kind of being tugged along by the people in front of me, so I didn't have to feel my way along the wall. I did reach out and I was touching the wall as I went, but it just didn't really engage me in a scare factor. It's just being led through a dark room. We got lost a couple times because there's really no direction as how to go anywhere. There's supposed to be glow-in-the-dark arrows painted on the walls, but you can barely see them, if at all. And toward the end, there's a giant spider, but you can barely see it. It's not really worth having it in there. And like I said, it was just being dragged through a dark room for 4 minutes. And that's why I really didn't care for it. Now, number 16, I'm going to put Monster Rock. I'm putting Monster Rock, a stage show in the Oktoberfest Fest House area, pretty much kind of just because of where it's at. You're in the Fest House, which is kind of like a little food court area anyway, and the problem is it's loud and noisy in there. People are talking and eating, and there's walking constantly to and from, in front of you, behind you, bumping into you, and it really kind of takes you out of the moment of trying to watch a show, which is what's going on. You're having a show going on in front of you while you're trying to eat, and it really is just very distracting. If it wasn't for that, the show was actually decent. I enjoyed the music, the costumes were nice, well choreographed, the performers sang well, there was live music playing, they had some nice lighting effects. So the show itself was decent. But because of where it's at and because of all the distractions, it kind of takes you out of the moment and just really fails to give you that kind of engagement you need from that kind of show. Okay, number 15 on my list is going to be another haunted maze. I'm going to go with Backwoods Bayou. it just really was not all that engaging. It was a short house. They kind of got it wedged in there between the back side of Coney Mall and where the Eiffel Tower is located. So it's kind of crammed into a small area. And you're walking through, and there's fog everywhere, and they got like weird, creepy Bayou banjo music playing, which is all pretty, it's pretty interesting. If there was something else to go with it. There was really no scares. There was like 3 actors the entire thing, and they came out or popped out from so far away from you that you could see it coming from a mile away, so there was really no scare interaction whatsoever. Now, what I did like about it is they had some very interesting props. They did have some giant Venus flytraps and some giant snakes that were pretty interesting. But other than that, it was short, it ended abruptly, there was really no scare engagement, and it just really didn't do anything for me. Alright, number 14 I have on my list is another show. It's Drums of the Dead. It's a new show this year. It's a Day of the Dead theme they have over International Street, right in front of the Eiffel Tower. And it's a good show. As the name would imply, it is a drum show. Very good drums, very diverse sets of drums they play. They play all kinds of different instruments, all percussion, of course. And there's some fire dancing. But again, it is just a drum show. And I know people that, hey, love drums. I love drums, but I kind of can only watch it for so long before it just becomes one long drum solo, and I get a little bored. So that's kind of what happened here. I got a little bored toward the end, but I did enjoy it. But I just liked everything else on the list a little bit better. At number 13 on my list, I'm going to go back to another scare zone. We have Dance of the Macabre. Now, I didn't quite know I was in the scare zone at first. I kind of had to walk around for a little bit before I realized I was in something different than International Street Fear, because there's not really a sign, that I saw anyway, that lets you know you're walking into a new scare zone. But the theming and decorations and the props and costumes definitely tell you something different's happening. Small though it may be, there's a lot packed into this small space. The costumes are amazing. There's great places on every side, every corner of the Eiffel Tower to take some great pictures, some great selfies, Instagram stuff if you're into that kind of thing. Some great set pieces. For as small as it was, a very enjoyable little area to walk through and just watch all the other guests interact with all the elements they had in place there. But because it wasn't bigger, it didn't get up any higher on my list, though. If it were a little bit larger and they had a little more to walk through, it probably would have jumped quite a few spots up on the list because it was so well decorated and because the costumes were so amazing and the actors were engaging. Everyone that I walked by made an effort to, in character, to interact with me, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that immensely. Number 12 on the list, we're going to go back to another house, which is Chaos. And it is some kind of government alien invasion themed funhouse kind of deal. I'm not sure the exactly what they're going for because there were so many kind of different things going on in there that it was a little bit confusing, which was one reason it's not higher up on my list. Another reason it's not higher up on the list is because the last half of the house is pretty much a mirror maze. It's a lot more fun in theory than it is in real life. In this case, didn't get caught, didn't get lost at all, because when you get a line of people going through these things, everyone in front of you is walking the clear path, so there's nobody bumping into walls, and you're not bumping into walls because you see exactly where to go because of the people in front of you. So, if maybe I was first in line and maybe hit a few walls myself, run into a few mirrors, maybe it would have been more fun. But because the last half was, half mirror maze, and it really was just, follow the leader, that's why it's not up higher on the list. But with the things I didn't like out of the way, the things I did like is the theming. Aliens, government conspiracy, you can't go wrong with that, right? There were only a couple of scare actors in the maze, but the couple that were in there really made an effort to interact with the people that came through. They have some alien heads in a jar. They have like the science lab thing. They have like some kind of lighting show that's supposed to simulate like alien abduction and arrival, that kind of deal. And as you go through the mirror maze, once you get to that part of it, there are lights and strobes and flashes everywhere, and it gives you the feeling like you're going through an alien spacecraft. So, the theming that I believe they were going for, they nailed. I just wish there wasn't so much mirror maze. Alright, number 11 on my list is going to be another scare zone. It's going to be International Street Fear. And this is the one, as you first come into the park, you can't miss it, because as soon as you come through the entrance gates, you're there. Now this one is a little tamer because it's at the entrance to the park and you really can't avoid it as you come in. So there's not a lot of scary elements going on. There are some character actors on tall stilts walking around, which you can't miss because they're 15 feet tall with these stilts walking around. There's a couple smaller scare actors walking around the perimeter toward the back of the big swimming pool there in the middle of International Street, in the areas where they can be avoided. You also, with the International Street Fear, you have most of the main decoration for the front of the park is included in that. So the giant sign, the skeletons, which are everywhere, hanging off every light pole and storefront and balcony, which is fun. They're just skeletons. They have them in weird, I want to say provocative positions, but they're in interesting positions all throughout this area, and just fun to look and see what you can find. And with that, there is the lagoon show, the lights and the fountains, and the fireballs shooting up all night long with the creepy music, the metal music, which is my favorite part. I love the lights, I love the fireballs. They're hot, they're loud, they're big, and they're through the entire area, which is, to me, what makes the area. Are a couple little touches too. You go by a couple of the storefronts, and to me, I think the best decoration, maybe through the entire event, was in the main merch store on the left side of International Street. And they have a storefront there, and instead of whatever's usually in there, they have this creepy clown carnival scene set up, which is just a window full of nightmares. It's terrifying, but it's very well done, fun to look at, and probably the creepiest thing you'll see in the park all night. So that's what I liked about it. But because it's a little tamer, because it's just a bunch of stilt walkers, there's not a lot of scary elements. That's why it's not up higher on my list, even though I did immensely enjoy it. Now, number 10 on my list, I know has a little bit of a cult following for this event, and so I'm going to get some disagreement on where I put this, but I'm going to go Wolfpack at number 10. And the reason it's just number 10 for me is that I just liked all the other things that I have ranked above it better. I believe that it probably could have been better themed. I like the werewolves. There's lots of good ambiance and sounds and creepiness going on inside the house, but the parts you can see, the decorations inside it, I just think could have been better. That's the only reason to me that it's down on the list. It just wasn't as completely immersive as I feel like it could have been. But the reason for going through Wolfpack is for the ending. It has probably the best animatronic effect in the entire event, which is the giant snarling wolf head at the end of the maze hanging over a bed. I guess it's like, Mother Wolf that's trying to eat Red Riding Hood. I don't know, but it's creepy, it's slimy, it's gross, it's scary, and I loved it. So if for no other reason, go through Wolfpack to see this giant wolf head at the end of this thing. It is amazing. And number 9, I'm going to put another haunted maze. It's going to be Field of Screams. I know people really like Field of Screams, and I liked it too, and I debated about putting Wolfpack above it. Went ahead with Field of Screams at 9 instead of Wolfpack, because I like the outdoor maze. I like the Children of the Corn vibe they have going on there, and it's probably the longest maze of the park. I know it's just cornfields the entire time, but they have different things planted throughout the corn mazes there. It probably has the most scare actors. It's not just the regular jump scares and the pop-out scares like you get in the other houses. They have interesting ways of popping out and surprising you, like weird sounds, weird costumes that have them kind of blend right into their environment, and you don't even really see them until you're right up on them. One thing I didn't like about it, though, is just how far back it was to get to this thing. It was probably a mile back into the park just to walk to this thing, and there were people waiting probably at least an hour to get back there. I don't think it's worth an hour wait. But again, once I got back there, once I got in it, I did enjoy it very much. I wish it was a little a little scarier, but there was plenty of elements to scare you. Like I said, they were interesting, creative, and different from all the other houses, and I did enjoy that quite a bit. Number 8 on my list is going to be my highest ranked show, which is Haunted Homecoming. I really enjoyed this show. I grew up doing musical theater, so it kind of hit home for me. I love the homage to all the old creepy Halloween songs that we all grew up with. I recognized everything. I was humming along in my head, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. The costumes were fantastic. The sets were great. They had some nice lighting. And you're saying, why isn't this higher on that list if you enjoyed it so much? Well, here's why. It's a little long at 23 minutes, but that's not the main reason. The problem I have with it was I feel like they could have done a little bit more with some of the lighting and some of the effects and some of the interaction with the crowd. They really they tried to come out into the crowd and get some engagement, but they really kind of ignored the crowd for most of it. And they seem to be having some mic trouble. They kept going in and out. And some of the singing was a little bit off, a little pitchy at places. And I know it was opening night when I went, so there are bugs to be worked out. There are wrinkles to iron. So I'm sure they get all that stuff worked out. But that's what I heard, so that's what I have to judge it on. But putting that aside, which I can, because I've been there, I've done that. I've been on nights where you just aren't on your game, and there are technical things that you can't control. Putting that aside, it's a really good show, which is why it's so high up on my list. I just wish I could have ranked it higher and given a little bit more props to my theater people, but it is what it is, and it's a really good show. It's worth watching. You want to sit down, have a break, and watch a very entertaining, toe-tapping, fun show, and Haunted Homecoming's your thing. At number 7 on my list, I'm going to have another haunted maze. It's going to be Madame Fatale's Cavern of Terror, Lights Out. But I like Madame Fatale's because you get to go into this cave and go through the old crypt attraction that used to be at Kings Island. I guess they haven't gotten rid of, and maybe they're keeping it for this very purpose. So that kind of puts you in the moment right away, is that you get to go through the old crypt, and they give you a light stick, so that's always fun. And then you go through, and it's just interesting. There are some interesting characters. The makeup and costuming is unique, and they have just ways that pop out and scare you. I know it's supposed to be lights out, but you have the glow stick, so you can see a little bit. Everyone else has a glow stick, so it lights up the room a little. And there are just scares that you know are coming, because they got the room set up. You I know there's something in here, but you don't know where it's coming from, and it gets you anyway. It's why I liked it. I didn't think I would want to be scared as much as I was that night, but the more I got jumped at and the more I got scared, the more I liked it, and this one really kind of got me into the moment with doing that. So that's why I loved it, just because of the ambiance going through the crypt, the interactiveness with the glow sticks, and just the creative elements they used just to interact with you as you came through, just the uniqueness of the type of house that it was. Number 6 on the list is going to be Pumpkin Eater. And the reason this one's so high up on the list is because of the decoration and because of a fantastic animatronic effect they have going on in there. It's a smaller scare zone, but they got a lot packed into a small space. It is decorated everywhere. There are these wonderful hanging lit jack-o'-lanterns all through the area. The thing is just covered with pumpkins. There are even little creepy things. If you're looking closely, you can see this person oozing, covered in goo, out of this giant pumpkin kind of off to the side in a pit that you can't really see unless you're looking for it, but it's there, and it's creepy, and it's gross, and it's fun. There are smoking pumpkin towers. There's shelves full of creepy jack-o'-lanterns. There's the Pumpkin Eater himself, who is a great element to get your picture taken with. Very good costuming, very interactive, very fun. The sign going into and out of the area, it's a great sign. I'd love to have it in my front yard. It's just an incredible piece of woodworking making this sign for that area. The best part of the scare zone is the animatronic pumpkin man they got popping out of the bushes, which if you're going through there, I think he pops out about every minute or so he may not pop through as you're going through, but make sure you figure out where he's at and stop for the show, because It's well worth it. It's huge, it's scary, it's creepy, and it jumps right out of the bushes at you, and I can't hype it enough. It's worth stopping to wait for this guy. Number 5 on the list, again as a scare zone, it's going to be Shipwrecked. The Shipwrecked is the first scare zone I interacted with of the night, and it did not disappoint. It is so immersive and so well decorated. There's little elements everywhere to remind you exactly where you're at. You're in a shipwreck. There are like zombie pirates everywhere. There's pieces of ship. There's chains. There's jail cells for pirates. There are scare actors everywhere chasing down the kids, screaming fish monster people. It's got it all. And I wish I could put it higher on the list, but there are reasons why it's not. But I immensely enjoyed this scare zone. I love the interaction with the scare actors. They were just so engaging. The immersiveness of this area. It was kind of a smaller area for a scare zone, but it was packed full of many different elements, and I loved every second of walking through it. Number 4 on my list is going to be my top-rated scare zone, which is going to be Coney Mall. Coney Mall, M-A-U-L. And there are reasons why this one got above Shipwrecked, which I'm going to cover with you now. It is a large scare zone. It encompasses almost the entire Coney Mall area, from about the entrance to where you go into Flight of Fear, all the way down to where you hit Oktoberfest. And it's not quite as immersive as Shipwrecked was. I mean, there could be... You can still tell you're in the Coney Mall area of the theme park, but there are little bits and pieces everywhere along the way, especially if you're willing to look for them, that let you know you're still in this scare zone. They don't disappoint. Sideshow attraction statues everywhere. There are like circus tents. The globes, they have different colors instead of just the white globe lighting. There are like carnival train cars off to the side, and that's just the decoration. Now, I only saw 3 or 4 scare actors in this large area, but the ones I did interact with were fantastic. Perhaps the best scare actors in the entire park were in the Coney Mall area. They were so engaging. They tried to engage in every guest individually and uniquely based on what they were doing, and just really were in character, in your face, and I loved it. But the star attractions in the Coney Mall area are the 2 giant animatronics, which are both fantastic. They have this giant clown Jack-in-the-Box thing, which is just what nightmares are made of. It gave me the creeps, and you don't want to miss that one. But down toward the front of it near Oktoberfest is going to be the giant troll. Kids love the troll. I love the troll. It's a great effect. It's this giant animatronic troll in a cave that every few seconds wakes up, pops up, moves his mouth, moves his eyes, moves his arms, tells a creepy story, laughs, goes back down in his cave. He has 3 or 4 different stories to tell. They're all just funny and creepy at the same time, and it's a very engaging, very fun element to this area and for the entire event. So do not miss the troll. Number 3 on the list is going to be Urgent Scare. It's over at the back of the Coney Mall area, kind of under the entrance to the Windseeker. And there are just so many reasons why I love this house so much. It's very, very immersive. It really puts you in the environment that you're in, a creepy, haunted, disease-ridden hospital, which is what they're going for. They have motivational posters on the wall that if you've been in any kind of office environment, you've seen everywhere. They're covered in blood. There's creepy scare actors everywhere that's covered in this disease, and they're very engaging. They're very interactive. They talk to you. They gross you out. They jump out and scare you. It's fantastic. And throughout the entire thing, they have the heart monitor beeping, just beep, 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 constantly. And it just adds to the ambiance, adds to the creepiness. And I guess I'm just lucky that it doesn't flatline while you're going through there, because that would have been awful, which is what I expected going in, that I was going to have a heart attack and die of fright. But like I said, it is just engaging and immersive all the way through. It has some of the best effects of any of the houses throughout the entire night, with the morgue area with all the creepy cadaver feet jiggling around at you. There's a scene where a giant chest popper creature pops out of a patient, and it is one of the more frightening, fantastic elements of the entire Halloween event of the night, and I can't recommend making sure you see that enough. And number 2 on my list, if you'd have asked me at the beginning of the night, which is going to be your least favorite, I'd have told you this one. And I didn't even want to go in this house, because I knew what it would be like, and because I'm not into that kind of thing. I love horror movies, but I like monsters and creatures and supernatural stuff, but I'm not into the gore. And by the name Slaughterhouse, I knew it was just gonna be gore. And it was. But they somehow made it fun. I don't know, it was nasty and gross. I had to go first in my group, so I got every jump out scare, but that made it that much better. Yeah, it wasn't that long of a house, but it was themed from wall to wall and from front to back, and it was just nasty and amazing all at the same time. I don't know what else to say about it other than I loved it. I can't explain it why I loved it, but I did, and I can't really think of one negative thing to say about it. I loved it that much. It's why it's number 2 on my list. Now, with all those out of the way, if you're familiar with the event, you can do the math. You know what I've got number 1. I've said it in some of my other videos when I went to the event, but my favorite of the night is the Haunted Maze Killmart. And some of you might disagree with me, but I have my specific reasons for wanting to put Killmart at number 1. It is themed extremely well and extremely accurately for what it's depicting. It is an apocalyptic superstore. And the reason I love that so much is because I worked at Walmart for 10 years. And specifically, I worked in security or asset protection for about 5 of those years. And it reminded me a whole lot of Black Friday. It was like the entire store was tore apart. It was just devastation and destruction from the moment you come in to the moment you go out. And about every single department within a superstore is represented, and I love that so much. I love that you go through a checkout area, you go through the pet area where they have fish tanks that are covered in bloody fingerprints. There is a toy area full of giant stuffed animals you know are just going to pop up and grab you at any moment. There's even the hanging ball pit above your head as you go through toys. There's a tire and lube area stacked full of tires, obviously. There's a home appliance area with a haunted washing machine. I mean, and the list goes on and on. It's just reminded me so much of working retail and of the horror stories I used to tell about working retail that it just hit home so much to me. It was like somebody took my most exaggerated fantasies out of my head and put them in front of my eyes, and it just made me grin from ear to ear the entire time I was walking through it. And to top it all off, it has an animatronic in it that is among the best in the park. You come around a corner and there's like this 3-headed Siamese monster of a customer that pops out of the corner pushing a shopping cart that's just screaming and blaring at you and that strobe lights and stuff. And it about made me pee myself. And then it about made me wet myself with laughter. So, all that being said, that is why Killmart is first on my list. That's why it's a must-see when you go through. At least it was for me. Yeah, I love Killmart. I hope you enjoyed this. You asked for it, so I gave it to you. Whether you agree with me or not, you know, either way works. Put it down in the comments. Tell me why you agree or why you don't. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. Thank you for watching this long. I appreciate it. Hope to have a lot more interesting Halloween content coming your way before the end of the season, and more stuff coming after that. So, again, whoever's out there watching, who's commenting, asking for this stuff, I appreciate it. I love you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night. Have a happy Halloween, and enjoy Halloween Haunt. You need to go.